Hampton House, for example, was a place where black middle-class people could go, and they could not go to South Beach or Coral Gables. Hampton House demonstrated to those who were alive at that time that there were black middle-class people who wanted to behave like all other middle-class people, who wanted a nice place to go. And since they could not go, they did not throw up their arms and picket and demonstrate. They created their own. The lesson in that is that maybe what they got is not what you need, and maybe what you want is what you already got. So at that time in our history, we all would gather at the Hampton House for fun, and it was by incident and sometimes on purpose that we got caught up in doing things. For example, one night, the late Jesse McCrary, who was the first black Attorney General of the state of Florida, he and I were sitting and we were talking about some things that we ought to do. And Jesse said, you know what? We ought to integrate the 3rd District Court of Appeals. So I said, well, let's do that. So we set up at the bar in the Hampton House and drew up a plan, executed that plan, and the young man became the first black person to serve on the 3rd District Court of Appeals at the Hampton House. Having fun. Didn't go there with that intent. Just decided we ought to do this. Worked out the plan, executed the plan, and Wilkie Ferguson became the first black jurist on the 3rd District Court of Appeals. Out of the brain mind of 2 guys sitting on the bar having a drink, deciding that we were going to do something.
Well, we have copies of recordings of speeches that Dr. King gave here. That was stunning. I mean, he's of course internationally known historical figure, but to know that some of the things he said here, right, are actually things that maybe people haven't even heard before. So I think we're uncovering a whole new layer of history. And I think one of the important sort of lessons here is that many things get memorialized and remembered, but not everything does, and sometimes certain communities get excluded. And I think this is the case of, say, the black community of Miami, where everyone knows the hotels on the beach and South Beach, and many things about Miami are known. I think very few people recognize that there are sites like this that fortunately have been preserved, but that are part of that story that are just now we're going to be able to reveal to the public what happened.
I remember as a child, as a teenager, going downtown with my little money to buy whatever I wanted. My dad would give me money to go shopping. And I remember the Woolworth store, Woolworth and all the 5 and dime stores, whatever, all of the stores, anyway, one of those stores used to make good corn dogs. And you know what a corn dog is?
It's not I do.
Yeah, well, they was make good corn dogs. And I used to be so upset. We could buy the corn dog, but we couldn't sit down and eat them. But I used to look forward to going there and getting a corn dog. The other thing was, when I wanted water, there was a certain water fountain that I couldn't drink from. There was one that said colored and one that said white, so I had to drink from the faucet, the fountain that said colored. Also, and I vividly remember this to this day, and it hurts me to my heart. Bird Ants, the big, well-known department store in Miami, used to have a sign in the window that says, no Jews, no dogs, and no niggas. And that hurt me to this day. I feel it. When they say they're going to tear down whatever, Bird Eyes, even though the sign in the stores in the window says Macy's, I still see from way back that was Bird Eyes, the store that didn't want me in there because of my color, my skin. And I shouldn't hold it like that, but that's just something that's deeply rooted in the way I feel about how things used to be. But thank God, things have changed. And it's not like that anymore. But I can't seem to get that little bit out of my system about not being able to go. And then when you could go in, when integration came in, you could go in the store and you could buy things, but you couldn't try them on. Like you wanted to try on a dress, you couldn't try it on in the store.
Were you able to return it?
Huh?
Were you able to return it?
You could take it and bring it home and try it. I never bought anything because my father restricted me from going in there. And he said, don't you go in there and spend a dime of my money.
They worked hard to give us what they didn't have. My father was taken out of school when he was in 10th grade because my grandmother died in childbirth, and there were 10 of them. So the older children had to come out of school and work and help take care of the younger children. So my father had it in him that if I could go to school, if I could try to go to school and wanted to be something, if I could get into school, he'll help me get through. So their thing was to help us to have a better life than they had. So my father also, with the business, wanted to have a place that we would never have to answer to anybody else. We'd have our own business.